I'm Morgan, and I'm 25 years old. I'm just your typical housewife. Today, like any other day, I'm doing household chores and waiting for my husband to come home. While my relationship with my in-laws is quite tough, my relationship with my own family is generally very close-knit. I'm particularly close with my sister Hillary, who is 3 years younger. When we were little, we always played together, and that never changed as we grew up. Even as adults, we still hang out with each other, going back and forth to each other's houses. One day, my sister called me. "Hillary, what's wrong?" Even though she always sounds cheerful on the phone, I sensed something was off. It felt like she was dealing with some problem. "Well, I've been feeling a little sick and had to go into the hospital for a checkup." "Huh? Are you okay?" I was really shocked. I always thought Hillary was so healthy, never catching even a cold. What if it's a serious illness? I was feeling my heart pounding. "It's okay. It's just an examination, so don't worry too much." "Okay, got it. Take care of yourself." I hung up the phone, and on the day the test results came out. I went to the hospital accompanying my sister. My sister said I was overreacting, but as her sister, I couldn't just leave it. It was impossible to wait quietly at home. As I entered the examination room, the attending physician was looking at the x-ray with a serious expression. I have a bad feeling about this.
"Please calm down and listen."
I swallowed hard. My sister was also nervous, looking at the doctor's face.
"Let me tell you the conclusion. Hillary has a malignant tumor."
"That's..." I muttered quietly. She seemed calm, but it was clear she was in shock. She's only 22, and I can't believe she has cancer.
"Tumors were observed in this part of the stomach. We'll perform surgery to remove them, followed by chemotherapy."
The doctor pointed to what seemed to be the main part of the x-ray with a pen as he said so. "She'll be okay, right? She'll survive, won't she?" I pressed urgently, but the doctor looked troubled.
"It's a delicate situation. Anyway, without trying, we won't know anything."
"Hillary, are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. You're worrying too much. You look really scared, you know." My sister is cheerfully patting my shoulder, but as her older sister, I can tell she's really frightened. She seemed to be trembling slightly. And so my sister proceeded to go through the formalities for hospitalization. When we contacted our parents and relatives, everyone exclaimed in surprise, their voices full of shock. Relatives from both my and my husband's families came to visit right away.
"Hillary, are you okay? I was really surprised."
"I'm fine, don't worry so much." While my parents and uncle genuinely showed concern, my husband and mother-in-law seemed somewhat annoyed to have come for a visit. "Why do I have to come to a place like this? I hate hospitals. They have such a gloomy atmosphere."
"Don't say that. She's my sister-in-law, and she's sick. It can't be helped, right?"
I overheard such whispers. I pretended not to hear anything and turned to face my sister. "Anyway, just try to stay calm, okay? It's important not to move around too much, okay? I'm still feeling fine, so don't worry about me like that." I was so worried about my sister I couldn't help it. She has a somewhat bad habit of putting on a smile, especially when things get tough. Because I've known her since we were little, I can read her true emotions hidden behind her smile. "Oh, by the way, about the new house we're planning to build, how are the plans going?" "Huh?" My mother-in-law suddenly changed the subject. I couldn't help but express my surprise at how out of place the conversation was.
"Yeah, we're still stuck on the money. It wouldn't be a problem if we could secure a loan smoothly."
My husband, who seems oblivious to the atmosphere, chimed in with that topic. I felt like shouting involuntarily. This isn't the place to discuss this. It's as if my sister's illness doesn't matter at all. But this is a hospital room. I held myself back. Afterward, together with relatives, we listened to the doctor's explanation and decided on the surgery date. It was mentioned that she might need to remove most of her stomach. Even though it wasn't me undergoing the surgery, I was seized by chills and my body trembled. "You're exaggerating, big sis." While my sister tried to remain calm, fate wasn't going to let things progress so easily. My sister's condition worsened day by day. Her face darkened, and she could hardly swallow any food. And then she started spending more and more time lying in bed. I visited her every day to encourage her. In a small, pained voice, she repeated to herself, "It's okay, it's okay," many times as if trying to reassure herself. And then the day of the surgery arrived. We waited outside the operating room for a long time as the long hand of the clock made 6 complete rotations. I had been praying to God continuously, hoping that everything would end safely. And when the surgery finished, my sister was brought out by the nurses. When I asked about the surgery, the attending physician,
"The surgery has generally concluded without any major issues. However, there's a possibility of metastasis in other organs, so we need to carefully monitor the situation."
"Is that so?" I felt my already anxious and tight chest expanding even further. And then even worse news came. The results of the examination showed metastasis to organs other than the stomach. At this point, I was told that recovery would be difficult, and I felt overwhelmed by a sensation akin to being plunged into the depths of despair, and dizziness persisted. My sister woke up from anesthesia, but she was connected to various tubes and receiving many medications through IV drips. She was in critical condition. "Hillary." While holding my dear sister's hand, I desperately prayed to God for her recovery. This child hasn't done anything wrong. She's just been bravely living her life to the fullest every day. Please don't take her like that. That's what I wished for. When I stepped outside the hospital, I saw my husband and mother-in-law engrossed in conversation. I decided to hide in the shadows and eavesdrop on them. I could hear their voices.
"We need to sort out the money for the house soon."
My husband rubbed his chin, lost in thought. "Hey, Hillary won't be with us much longer, don't you think?" In response, my mother-in-law said something outrageous. I couldn't believe my ears, so I quickly took out my phone from my pocket and switched it to recording mode.
"It will depend on the future treatment." "Oh yeah, the other day I got a call from the insurance company, and it seems she's insured for $300,000 in case of death."
"That's really amazing. If that comes through, then who needs a mortgage, right?" The heartless exchange between them made me feel disappointed and filled with an urge to lash out.
"Well, if everything goes as planned, we might be able to build a 2-family house with the insurance money."
"She doesn't even work much and ends up with cancer." "Well, whatever. Such a lovely souvenir from someone useless, huh?" How dreadful. I will definitely get even with them. I was glaring at the two with a cold, icy stare that went beyond anger. The next day, I called all the relatives to the hospital saying, "There's something we need to discuss together."
"What's this about?"
When everyone gathered, my mother asked, It's about Hillary's insurance money." I started the conversation calmly.
"Hey, Hillary is still fighting, and you're talking about insurance money."
My father reproached, but I stopped him and continued speaking. "I understand. I don't want to have this kind of conversation at a time like this, but there's something important I want you to hear." I started using the smartphone I had with me. I exposed the secret conversation between my husband and mother-in-law from that time. The two of them froze on the spot, their faces turning pale. "The two of you were talking about this, and I recorded it."
"Hey, what's this conversation?"
"Unbelievable. Building a house with Hillary's life insurance?" My uncle and aunt widened their eyes.
"Hey, what's the meaning of this?"
My father's face turns red as he confronts my husband.
That's not what it is. We didn't mean it like that."
"What? What's your intention here? You were grinning together, anticipating the worst-case scenario for my sister, weren't you?" I calmly interrogate my husband. "Well, recording us in secret like that? What a dirty trick." My mother-in-law remains unrepentant, refusing to back down. "Dirty? I think your moral depravity far outweighs anything I could do." I pressed my nose against her face, confronting her directly. "You're okay saying you'd build a house in exchange for my sister's precious life? I wouldn't want to be around such a wicked person, even if God commanded it. Go camp out somewhere else." "Well, I just..." She fell silent, unable to find the words.
What's going on?"
At that moment, my father-in-law, who arrived late at the hospital, sensed something unusual and approached us. When I told him the details of what happened, he was furious at the cruel conversation between his son and his wife. He seized them both by their collars and brought them closer.
What do you think human life is? Even with relatives fighting desperately against illness, how could you say such awful things? I don't recognize you as family. I disown you.
My father-in-law's yelling echoed throughout the hospital, and the windows shook. At that moment, a doctor came running out of the ICU room where my sister was receiving intensive care.
Families, could we please gather here?
With eyes gleaming behind glasses, the doctor began to share unbelievable news. It turns out that my sister's cancer cells are disappearing rapidly and her symptoms are dramatically improving. It appears that the experimental new treatment being developed perfectly suited her condition. After a while, my sister regained consciousness. Hillary, are you okay? Morgan, I think I'm okay now. My body doesn't hurt much anymore. With a firm tone, my sister showed a smile. Seeing Hillary like that, I couldn't hold back my overflowing tears.
It's a wonderful result. I didn't expect it to be this effective. You could even call it a miracle.
The attending physician was genuinely amazed by the effectiveness of the new medication and my sister's resilience. I honestly did not expect her to recover so well either. I kept wondering how much longer she would last and what would happen if the worst-case scenario occurred. I kept thinking in a more and more negative direction.
Hillary, I'm so glad. I couldn't sleep at night wondering what would happen for a while. You really worked hard. Once you're discharged, let's all celebrate together.
Both my mother and relatives were joyfully discussing it, truly happy about her recovery. And 6 months later, Hillary was safely discharged. I'm really relieved. I haven't felt alive every day for the past year. I felt truly saved by my sister's perseverance. I let out a sigh of relief from the bottom of my heart. Seeing that, Hillary smiled softly as if astonished. You worry about others like it's your own problem, Morgan. I was worried about you worrying about me, you know. You were calling my name at my bedside all the time, you know. Well, what else could I do? My little sister, just barely past 20, ended up facing the brink of death. Well, that's the good thing about you, Morgan. It made me feel that you were nearby. It was reassuring. Thank you so much. I couldn't help but shed tears at Hillary's heartfelt words, and I hugged her tightly to hide them. But there was still something I had to do. I need to talk to you for a moment. One day, sometime after my sister's discharge, I called my husband into the living room.
What's up?
I spread the documents out on the table with a thud.
What? What is this?
A sheet of paper with prominent green lines. It's a divorce paper, obviously. I don't want to be with a jerk like you. Hurry up and sign it here, I said firmly.
Wait. Sure, we talked about the insurance money, but I didn't wish for the worst for Hillary. I've been disowned by my father and I have nowhere else to go. If we get divorced now, where will I go?
My husband will have no choice but to beg me. I don't know anything about that. You knew how much I cared about my sister, didn't you? Despite that, it's not something a decent person would consider. Using her life insurance money to fund a house.
That's why I said I was sorry. I swear I'll never think or speak of it again.
Emotional manipulation won't work on me. Whether it's between spouses or siblings, there are unforgivable actions. You've crossed that line that you shouldn't have crossed. I never want to see your face again. I got my husband's signature almost forcibly. And then my mother-in-law was banned from entering the house by her husband, and all the relatives were told to cut ties with her because of her actions. She's lost all her relatives, and we have no idea where she is or what she is doing. I subsequently divorced and received a hefty alimony payment from my ex-husband. The new drug administered to Hillary had not yet been approved by the government, and medical expenses were quite high, but the alimony covered the costs for now. If it gets approved, I'll get a retroactive refund. And then there's another happy event. It's about Hillary's marriage. Her partner is the owner of a cafe they often visit, and they bonded over Hillary's dream of running a cafe, or so I've heard. I was happy for Hillary's happiness, as if it were my own. We overcame that dreadful illness, and, while it might seem ordinary, we achieved the greatest happiness. I ended up divorced, but I really don't mind at all. I need to develop a better eye for men, I reminded myself. Later on, my sister had a baby girl. I decided to take care of the child in place of my busy sister. The child looks a lot like my sister, and somewhat like me. I intend to cherish her like my own daughter. Honestly, if this peaceful life continues, I thought I wouldn't mind being single forever. We were both thrown by unexpected events, including sudden illnesses. But we've overcome those challenges and are living happily together. Every day, as I savor that happiness, I believe my sister and I can overcome any obstacle together. Thank goodness Hillary recovered from that terrible illness. And to think that Morgan's husband and mother-in-law was planning to use Hillary's insurance to fund their house? How selfish and crazy can they be? I'm glad that Morgan was firm and ultimately divorced her husband. Morgan's ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law got what they deserved. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.